I can't hit the microphone. That doesn't work. What the actual dude? Hello everyone out there in the YouTubes. My name is Cadence. This is my corner. This is my coffee. It's my cup holder. And this is the star of today's show. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the SE Electronics 2200A Mark II. So this is the second version of SE Electronics' very popular, almost legendary budget condenser microphone, the 2200A. The old 2200A had a metal finish, a big body just like this one. Looks very similar, but it's in a metallic body, of course, without any fancy finishes on it. While this has a rubberized black finish that I don't really know what I think about, because it's, sorry for the noises when I rub the microphone, but it's a little sticky and weird. So not really entirely sure what I think about that, to be completely honest with you. Anyway, did I mention that this is a big microphone? This is a very large microphone. In fact, it's 21.5 centimeters long, 51 millimeters in diameter, and it weighs over 600 grams. So this is a serious microphone. You don't want to put it on a microphone stand that you don't really trust, because it's going to fall. Okay, so don't you try that. Anyway, let's talk about this microphone. So the second version of the 2200A added something very cool, and that is multi-patterns, right? Multiple different pickup patterns, and you can switch between them right on the back here. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit, and I'm also going to demonstrate them to you. But first, let's talk about some of the features in the front, because there are two switches that you can't see here, which I will show on the B-roll footage, of course. And essentially, you have a pad switch that can switch the microphone to minus 10 decibels of sensitivity or minus 20 decibels of sensitivity, allowing you to record very loud sources. In fact, in its normal mode, with no pad switches enabled, this microphone can record a source up to 135 decibels sound pressure level without distorting. And with the pads, if you switch it all the way to the minus 20 decibel pad, you can record something up to 155 decibels sound pressure level without distorting, which is pretty high. It also has a high-pass filter. On their website, they say that this high-pass filter is a 60 hertz pass filter, they just call it, as far as I remember. However, if you look at the frequency response that they themselves provide as well, you can tell that that is not the case. It is a high-pass filter at 100 hertz, and it's a 6 decibel per octave filter. So it's not the most egregious filter, but it does start at 100 hertz. So keep that in mind. It will cut out a little bit of low end if you decide to use it. This microphone, the multi-pattern version of this microphone, and there is a version called the SE2200A Mark II C, which only has one diaphragm. This version of the microphone has two diaphragms and 2 decibels higher self-noise than the cardioid-only version at 16 decibels A-weighted, which is pretty damn middle of the road, to be completely honest with you. I'm looking up at my script here, if you couldn't tell, to see what I need to talk about next. So I think that would cover most of the features on the outside of this microphone. And again, we're going to get back to the polar patterns. But before that, I just want to talk about this shock mount, because I need to show you something. So give me a second, okay? If you buy this microphone new, it's going to come with some stuff. How does this work? Anyway, you basically have a mesh pop filter like this that goes onto this stick here, and then the stick goes into this fancy shock mount here, right in the front like this, and there's supposed to be a screw here so you can set it in place and stuff like that, and that's all well and good. This is a very nice shock mount and pop filter and all that stuff. Steel construction, feels really sturdy. I bought this microphone on the secondhand market, and the guy who owned it before me somehow managed to break one of the legs, or whatever the fuck you want to call it, on this shock mount, so it doesn't really work. He said it would, but it doesn't. Well, I mean, it might actually have worked if it wasn't for the fact that the screw to locking the damn thing in place wasn't missing. So I was forced to go out and buy a new shock mount, which saddened me a lot because, again, this shock mount is like pretty much an all steel construction except for a plastic knob on this screw here. And, you know, it feels like high quality stuff. And again, how he broke it, I really don't know, right? Even this rod here for putting the pop filter in is made of metal. This little thing that holds the mesh is made of metal, right? This thing here. It's all very nice. So I went on to thomann.de, a German website to buy music gear and stuff for good prices. And I found myself an SE isolation pack or something like that, which is basically a shock mount with a pop filter in it. Very similar to what comes with the microphone. However, this isolation pack thing costs 40 euros on thomann.de, and that's of course lower than the MSRP that the guys at SE provided, which is 55 euros. So they're basically charging 55, or in reality 40 euros for a shock mount and a pop filter that are both of a lower quality than what comes with the microphone already. This I do not understand. You see, again, this is an all steel construction, proper-ish. You know, it's good. It's good. It also looks nice. Like, look at that. It's a cool design, right? This is plastic. The rod for holding the pop filter here, plastic. The mesh itself is, of course, made of metal. Otherwise, it wouldn't really work the same way. I think. I don't know too much about metal pop filters because I prefer the nylon ones. But again, plastic. Plastic everywhere. What's the deal with that? I paid 40 freaking euros for the damn thing. Why is it all made of plastic? Oh, that's not true. This part that you screw onto the mic stand and lock it in place with, that is metal, a metal construction. And of course, again, the mesh is metal. The rest, though, is plastic, and that's really disappointing. So SE, it's not so much that it's made of plastic that's disappointing, it's the fact that it costs 40 freaking euros and then it's made of plastic. I mean, what the hell, guys? So I wasn't too appreciative of that, but you know, it is what it is. If you buy this microphone new, you'll get a really nice shock mount with it. Again, I don't know how the fuck he broke this thing. Look at it. It's sturdy, man. Okay, let's move on. Now, the SE2200A Mark II is a microphone that I would refer to as a U87 clone. So for those of you who don't know, the Neumann U87 is probably the most iconic, legendary FET condenser microphone of all time. It's very expensive, it's highly revered, and it sounds really great. And there are a lot of microphones throughout the years that have tried to capture its magic. And one of the ways that they do this is to imply a presence boost. So if you take a look at the frequency response curve, and I'll bring one up and I'll explain it in just a moment, you'll notice that in the high end, there's this boost to the frequencies, to the loudness of the frequencies, that make them pop a little further out of the speakers, makes the microphone sound a little brighter, a little more detailed, a little more, perhaps even a higher resolution of sorts. And this is a trick that many cheap Chinese condenser microphones employ to make their microphones sound better, at least to the uninitiated listener. So if you take a look at something like the MXL 2010 or 2001, you'll, well, if you're me, maybe you'll puke on the floor somewhere, because look at that frequency response curve, man. The high end is just boosted out of this universe, and the low end is freaking below the 0 decibel level, right? This is a perfect example of how not to design a microphone that can be used for more than one source in a mix. Because if you use an MXL 2010 or 2001 to record an entire album, your entire album is going to sound like it came through a freaking tin can. There's no low end, and there is a ton of unpleasant high end. In fact, I think, I've never tried one, but I think that the 2010 and 2001 might actually sound worse than the MXL 990, which is quite a feat because I didn't think that was possible. But anyway, the 2200A Mark II, if you take a look at the frequency response curve on the screen right now, you'll find that there's a red line and a blue line. The red line represents the SE2200A Mark II, and the blue line is the frequency response of the Neumann U87. So if you take a look at them, you can see they're very close to each other. The Neumann U87 drops off a little bit quicker, so it doesn't have quite as much air, whereas the SE2200A has a little more on the very top end. just in terms of frequency response. But what makes them very similar in their sound is the location of the presence boost. And what SE have essentially done is they've kept the response flat right up until around 7 kilohertz or so, where it starts, where the presence boost kind of starts, right? And the point to be made about that is that sibilance in the human voice, i.e., when you say S sounds, T sounds, F sounds, that's sibilance, right? And sibilance tends to fall somewhere between 4 and 8 kilohertz. It really depends on the person and the way their mouth is constructed and so on and so forth. But generally, sibilance tends to drop off significantly when you get up to that 7, 8 kilohertz or so, which is where the presence boost of the 2200A Mark II begins. And this is brilliant, right? I think it's a brilliant design because you avoid boosting the sibilance of a person's voice very much at all while giving it more air on the very top end. And it has this very U87-esque tone or tonality to it, which you can't quite put your finger on, but it's basically that brightness without the sibilance. And I think SE Electronics did a great job with that on this microphone, and it sounds quite nice. I A/B'd this microphone against 2 of my other large diaphragm condensers when I recorded a CD before Christmas, you know, for the parents and the grandparents and whatnot. And I decided to record acoustic guitar with this microphone because it had something in the upper mids, just like on the treble, on the cusp of what I'd call treble, that really brought out some aggression in the acoustic guitar that really helped cut through the mix and really put it on the map there in that mix that I really liked a lot. I couldn't quite explain what it was, but compared to the 2 other microphones I tried, they just sounded a little bit boomy and a little bit muffled compared to the SE2200A Mark II. And that's a great feat, being really good on acoustic guitar, because this microphone also sounds really great on vocals. And I actually used it for recording vocals as well in tandem with another microphone. But essentially, I used 3 microphones to record a CD, and this microphone I used on both acoustic and vocals, which was really actually the only thing I recorded out here in the real world, right? Where I just paired it up with 2 different microphones in those 2 different scenarios. To get some different sounds out of the recording, you know. But this was really the main microphone for that CD, and I think it turned out pretty nicely, even though I was very strained on time. In fact, I have recorded a clip of me just playing some acoustic guitar with the microphone about 30 centimeters away from the guitar, pointed at where the neck and the body meet each other, and you'll hear that in just a moment. But first, let's just describe the sound of the microphone, really. So as I said, it has that air on the top end without the sibilance. It has that upper mid push. And in the low end, I really like how this microphone renders the low end because it's not, it doesn't have a lot of character to it. It's very transparent and honest, right? There's really not, it doesn't add anything, it doesn't take anything away, it doesn't make it sound different than what it sounds like in real life. Also, just, I have to, Oh. Oh, we gotta go all the way. Oh. But anyway, as I was saying, it's a pretty neutral sounding microphone, except for that presence boost. Has it renders your voice in a very neutral way. At least compared to most other Chinese condensers that have that presence boost where they tend to sound pretty freaking awful, and I hate it. But in this microphone, I love it, and I think it sounds phenomenal. So what is this microphone good for? Recording vocals, recording acoustic guitar. Could be used as a room microphone when you're recording drums, especially because it has the omnidirectional pattern on it, which we'll test out in just a moment. You can use it for drum overheads if you have 2. And you can use it on electric guitar cabinets. You could also use it as a room mic for electric guitar, and it would probably work pretty well for that, actually. And that's really the extent of what I'd say this microphone really excels at. Although it is what I'd call kind of a workhorse microphone that you can put on most sources and they're going to sound good. It's not very specialized. It's going to sound good on pretty much any vocalist and pretty much any acoustic guitar, for instance. And you can always use it as a drum overhead microphone. It's always going to sound good in those scenarios. Now, as you can probably tell, I like this microphone a lot. And what I have to say in terms of whether you should buy it or not is this. If you don't own any microphones, but you're looking to get a microphone, and you want to have just a single microphone to begin with that you can use for a couple different things and have it sound good, get this microphone. Okay, just go out and get this microphone. And the next microphone you should get is probably a Shure SM57. Okay? If you have this and a Shure SM57, you're on a really, really good track to do some good stuff. Because this microphone will not only be extremely good in the beginning, right, where you don't really have any other gear. It's going to sound great. This microphone will sound great even if you have U87s in your closet. You might actually pull this one out and put it on a source just to see what it sounds like, because it's that good. It's good enough that you'll never want to get rid of it. You'll always have a use for it. And with the multi-patterns, you can use it to record mid-side acoustic guitar, for instance, right? With the figure of 8 mode. And with the figure of 8 mode, you could also use it as a podcasting microphone. If you have a co-host and you need to record both of you and you only have one microphone, if you have this one, you can set it to figure of 8 mode, record in this direction and this direction, and get really great sounding audio out of a single microphone. And that's brilliant. You could set it to omnidirectional if you have a bunch of people sitting around a table. You can do all kinds of things with this microphone, and that's what makes it really great. So I would recommend it for people who are starting out with their home studio experience and don't really know what to buy, but you want a condenser microphone, you want something that sounds good, something that's versatile, and something that you won't want to get rid of in the future. This is definitely a great choice. Podcasters with 2 hosts, or someone who gets guests into the actual physical location often, this microphone would be excellent for that. And singer-songwriters who play acoustic guitar and sing, such as myself, because this microphone is going to cover all of your needs when it comes to that. And with that, I guess I'll leave you with the acoustic clip, and you can judge for yourself. Obviously, all of the audio in this video is unprocessed, except for a limiter that just brings up the volume of my voice and the acoustic guitar that you're about to hear. Everything else is completely unprocessed, no compression, no EQ, no reverb or anything like that. It's all just straight out of the microphone. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please tell me what you think of this microphone in the comments down below. And before I sign off, I need to test the polar patterns because I forgot. So the microphone is now set to omnidirectional mode, which means it's going to record in this direction and this direction and this direction and that direction and this and everywhere. It's actually just going to record everything around you. And it does this by enabling both diaphragms in the microphone to record in a cardioid mode and then combine the signal. So if I go to the side of the microphone, you'll find that the characteristics of the audio is going to change because it doesn't have a diaphragm that's pointing at me here, right? It's going to be 2 diaphragms kind of recording me to the side. So it's not really a true omnidirectional in a way, but it works. Most large diaphragm condenser microphones that have an omnidirectional mode are going to do it in this way by having 2 diaphragms that are coupled together. And the figure of 8 mode is actually really simple. You just take the signal from both diaphragms and you couple them together, but you invert the polarity of one of the signals. We're gonna try that out right now, actually. So now it's set to figure of 8 mode, and what's really cool is when you invert the polarity of one of these diaphragms and you couple those signals together, you essentially cancel out anything that's at the direct side of the microphone. Obviously, it's not physically possible to cancel it out completely, but if I move to the side of this microphone, I'm speaking kind of loudly right now so that you can hear me, because the rejection in figure of 8 mode to the side is extremely good. So you can use the figure of 8 mode to really shut out anybody who's not here or here in relation to the microphone. So let me get back here where you can hear me. And just to demonstrate, if you've never heard a figure of 8 pattern before, if I go to the other side of the microphone down here, it's going to sound pretty much just the same because it's another diaphragm recording me just like this one would, but in the other direction. So that's how this microphone works. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave your comments down below. What do you think? Does it sound good? Does it sound bad? Does it have nice features or not? Of course it has nice features. You know it does. And I guess I'll see you guys next time.